Well, we are now joined via video link by Jean Bwasa, independent Africa analyst, to unpack the elections in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Jean, good afternoon, and thank you for your time with us on the SABC at this hour. At this point, how can you describe the DRC elections taking place? Perhaps also taking into consideration the challenges at polling stations during voting there.
Good afternoon, madam, and thank you for you and your listeners and your viewers. Well, at this point of time, I would describe those elections as the worst elections, the most chaotic elections that have ever happened in any country in the world. So that's my sentiment and my feeling at the moment.
All right, so in lieu of that, walk us through why you are saying that.
Well, I would say that primarily due to the fact that there were so many challenges in terms of the organization of these elections. And the first challenge that we need to tackle is the fact that there has been no census in the Democratic Republic of the Congo since 1984. And while saying this, it means that even when they give the number of 44 million voters, nobody can today ensure that there were truly 44 million voters due to the fact that there's no census, there's no referendum that was done into that country for very long decades. That's one. Second of all, the voter cards was illegible, so we could not read who is really the voter who's going to go onto a poll or into a site, a voting site. So these are some of the challenges that question the validity, the legitimacy, and the legality of these elections that are really asking ourselves whether we as Africans, we are still led by what I would say being ethical and morally ethical in our lives.
So, Jean, you've cited the concerns about the logistical challenges that transpired during the elections. I wonder also if we could look at the concerns raised by the opposition regarding the extension of voting into day 2. And, you know, given the legal processes unfolding, the impact also on results, how would you weigh in on that also?
Well, I think it is very important that people understand that the Democratic Republic of the Congo had a constitution that was drafted, that was promulgated in 2006. And mainly this constitution was done here in South Africa, which means that if the constitution doesn't allow a prorogation of the voting, it means that there's a legal problem there. And I would normally, although I don't believe into the opposition leaders of that country, because at first we could not go into elections in the country which has got a war, and in a country where a portion and some entities are being taken by invaders and foreign armies and militias. So there should not have been elections primarily due to the fact that we should first of all establish peace, stability in the country through the current government and ensure that we know exactly that we are going to elections for the aspirations of the Congolese people. So that's my take on that. So they might be right, but they are also wrong due to the fact that they went into elections knowing quite well that those elections will not be free, fair, and credible.
So you're obviously referring to the conflict in the eastern part of the country, in that region, and perhaps how it's also affected elections. Because I actually wanted to look ahead of the elections. We also heard that the current president made some inflammatory statements which were directed at neighboring countries. And from your vantage point, how do you think this will affect peace in the Great Lakes region?
Well, I do believe that what is important, well, I don't care about the inflammatory comment he made, because he's been making those even prior to him being becoming the president in 2018. He did say during that campaign that once he's elected president, he would go and seat himself and live in Goma, so that he would be able to quell the tension between those militias that we know are being proxy armies from neighboring countries, and he will say that. But he hasn't done so. Instead, he has traveled worldwide, as he alluded in the same interview. So for me, the key critical endpoint at the moment is for the possibility for the Congo and Congolese people to sit under a palava tree like they did in 2002 or 2003, like they did in 1992, and challenge themselves and change the narrative and the paradigm for a Congo that will be social, economic, and political free from the conflict in the eastern side of the Congo that has been going on for about 3 decades now. So for me, his inflammatory statements are void, because he's made so many and he hasn't done so. And in fact, he said that he will convene the 2 chambers, the parliament and the senatorial chamber, together. But many of his decisions that he has taken during his term for the past 5 years, he never consulted those 2 chambers. So what is he saying? These are really, really mere promises that are void.
Okay, Jean, we're obviously monitoring developments. Let's leave the conversation there for now. And thank you for your time with us on the SABC at this hour. Jean Bwasa, Independent Africa analyst, weighing in on the back of provisional results trickling in, of course, after the DRC went to elections.